What will you leave in the light before everything goes dark?
All right, guys, welcome to the Conquer podcast. This is Josh. I'm joined by Antonio today. What's up, man? Welcome. Good. Today, we're going to get into your story. I am a big believer that someone needs to hear something you have to say, and your story can help change someone else's life. And I think it's important that you're the first guest because you and I have a long history together in relationship. You're one of my best friends, and you've been through a lot. And I think you talking about it could potentially and ideally help somebody in their own fight. So we're going to get into it. The first thing that we usually need to do when we're looking at something pertaining to something that needs to be conquered, right? Something difficult, something that might seem insurmountable or very challenging, is you got to name it. Like, you got to name the fight. You need to know what you're up against, right? It's important to know what the opposition is. And it's not a negative thing either. Like, opposition is just friction or tension, right? It doesn't have to be a negative, just friction or tension. So for you, what is something that you have currently been conquering or that you have conquered?
I think the only really way to say it is the conquering the idea of who am I at the end of the day, not who I want to be, who I'm expected to be. Was I supposed to be a certain type of husband, a certain type of son, certain type of friend? So the fight I'm really fighting right now is discovering who I am. Growing up, I've always been a chameleon. I am whoever you want me to be. If you want me to be a supportive friend, great. You want me to be an aggressive person, fine. But yet, whether or not it was my true nature, it didn't matter since I really wanted to do something for said person, my friend, my family. Now that I'm at this particular age, having been divorced, having to gone through heart surgeries, back surgeries, I've come to the realization that through this whole process, people say, well, you should be grateful. What's your joy? Where's your happiness? Well, I don't know. I mean, some say that, oh, you should be grateful that you survived a heart procedure. You should be happy that you're here. But that was never a question. I never thought I wouldn't come out of it. So for me, it's more of, now that I'm here, what is my purpose? What am I going to really understand about myself? So my biggest fight for me is the fight for myself, my soul. Who am I? Who is Antonio? Who does he want to be? Who is he hiding from? He's hiding from himself because he's scared to think, what if I'm not liked for who I'm supposed to be? So I think the harder part of getting through this is enduring how much more you can take physically, mentally, emotionally. I've been considered overly sensitive sometimes, but I think I'm just passionate. I've been called stubborn. I just think I call myself loyal. But I think in this journey of what I'm trying to conquer is getting rid of the image or the idea of who I was and realize who I'm meant to be. In order to do that is releasing any past perceived conception of who I was and just be honest with myself and say, okay, I do want to be this person. Yes, I want to take the chunk out of life. I'm halfway through a lifetime yet. I feel like I haven't even started yet.
So for you, we can name your fight in the most simplest terms, right? It's identity, right?
Yeah,
Identity
absolutely.
is kind of what you're fighting right now and trying to understand. So was there a moment where you felt the identity shift from where you had been to this new place where you're dealing with the new version of you? Is there a moment that you can point to where you felt that shift?
I think the only moment I can really recall with some clarity is after my last heart procedure. I was ready to come back. I did my physical therapy, go back to work, and I found out that my job wasn't there anymore. And all of a sudden, the person I was before, I couldn't go back to. And it just hit me that I invested so much time, not in a company, but also the person that was mentoring me, that wanted me to go forward, and to suddenly realize there's no job. Well, that was who I was. What am I now? And so that finally hit me when I'm told, don't worry, it's okay, we got you covered. So I pivot and I try to do something different. I decided, let me go into real estate. It was a past passion. Why not go into it? I'm told, don't worry, and things didn't work out the way I thought they would. Again, it's one of those things that at that moment, having no job, no direction, you start realizing then, what is my passion? What is my identity? Where am I going to go with it? And that's when it forced me to really look inside and ask myself, what is your next step? Is it going to be something that's easy or something that you really want to do? Is it going to be a passion or is it going to be a Band-Aid to get through? I think I've gone through a lot of points in my life where I just do what it takes to get by without being a little greedy and more into, but this is what Tony wants to do. It's not what Antonio needs to do. It's what he wants to do. So I think at that point, coming back, thinking I'm just going to go back to work and everything is gone, it makes you, if not forces you, as you're stripped away from things that you thought were important, but really more distractions in where your real path lays. So I think now I'm on that journey to find out, who am I? Who am I meant to be?
Yeah, let's not glaze over it either, because you said heart procedure, but let's call it what it was. It's open heart surgery, triple bypass. Like, it was a big deal. You thought you had indigestion, which is hilarious, but you ended up being,
we're still working out. We're still going strong.
And that's a very big procedure. So I just want to make sure that the viewers understand that. And you got out of that surgery and went back in for a second one pretty quickly.
I did. Unfortunately, I went in for a physical on Monday with my doctor. And for the most part, I thought, okay, can't be too bad. Told her I had indigestion. Does an EKG, says you have to go across the street to the hospital. We're going to get checked out. I'm fine. Long story short, I get in. I get a blood test done. Next thing you know, they're rushing me inside. That I'm having a heart attack. I'm like, I'm perfectly fine. You guys are panicking over nothing. I'm being hooked up. They're telling me I'm having one and I feel fine. But yet apparently I'm having a heart attack. Then they found out I had a heart attack. So next thing I know, I go in for a physical on Monday to the hospital. I'm having a test on Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm being seen by a heart surgeon, told that I'm having a triple heart bypass on Friday. So go in, get cracked open, have a 5-hour surgery, come out really well. Surgery went well, not a problem. Did everything I had to do, was out by Tuesday afternoon, and everything was great. And then as I do my physical therapy and I'm getting stronger, 3 months in, all of a sudden I'm doing my arm workout, not feeling so hot. So not really sure how that felt. Like, I'm just going to err on the side of caution. Went back in. Turns out that the graft they put in fell out. And so my arteries were blocking. I was about to have another heart attack. So little emergency surgery, fixed me up, and then I was back out there. So yeah, it was.
Yeah, look,
intense.
I mean, with, the health stuff and losing that sense of identity as a healthy, strong person, which you felt like you were, on top of then coming out of that surgery and that time period and not having the stability of your career, which you had worked, a decade in, more than a decade in. That's a lot for anyone to kind of feel that identity shift. And that is a fight that a ton of people can relate to. I mean, it's unfortunate that yours were back to back, like one after another. My body's out of my control. My career and my comfort and my, support is out of my control. What am I supposed to do? And I commend you for pushing through, because there are other factors in there also that we're not going to touch on right now. But I mean, you went through a lot, and I don't know many people strong enough to keep going and not ask for help until, you're physically forced to have some help by the people that love you. And we all kind of gave you some time and then jumped in and helped you. But it's the identity shift, and that struggle is very difficult, man. But it's something that we all go through. And to find purpose, which you've touched on a couple times, you got to find the identity first. And identity is the first thing, and then the purpose will follow.
And I think growing up in the way I did is I always had to have a purpose to feel that was my identity. The purpose became my identity. And without a purpose, there's no identity. So after the heart procedures, after no work, after coming out of a long relationship, who am I? What is it going to be? So you're right. Had my identity been secure, my purpose would have been very clear, not the other way around.
Right. Yeah, I felt the same way in my own experience too. Because purpose is such a touched on topic. In our culture, we hear of it so much, and it's easier said than done to find it because a lot of us don't know who we are, and at the time we're trying to find a purpose. We're still trying to find ourselves, figure ourselves out. But yeah, I think you're on the right track. All right, so in these times of distress and tension, we typically hide things from people. Sometimes we're hiding things from ourselves, right? We don't notice it while we're in it. But looking back, going through these struggles, what do you think that you began to hide from people while you were in the struggle, in the midst of the battle?
I guess the easiest way to say it is something that you and I discuss all the time is lying by omission, or it was omission lying. The way I see it is I'm not lying if I'm not saying something. It's ask the question, you get the answer. That's how we both obviously disagree on that. But that made it easier for me as a challenge came, be it distress in my past relationship, being distressed at work, being distressed with myself, asking for help, showing that weakness. I hid everything from my closest friends, my bosses, because I didn't want to feel weak or not fulfilling my purpose. My work, my friends, they needed me, as I felt that was my purpose, to be a strong worker, a partner, a friend. But if those were suddenly seen as weakened, they won't need me. And not having a sense of need is extremely important. Again, going back to the identity part. So hiding the pain from other people wasn't as hard as every day hiding it from myself. So the biggest lie I told myself that I was fine because you're going to be okay. But I was, in my mind, I told myself I was okay, that everything will be fine. So when anyone was, how are you doing? I'm fine. I'm good. Until my body was going, nah, bitch, you're not. And so it pretty much turned on me and forced me to turn myself in, so to speak, and it physically grounded me to force myself to ask for help.
Your stress and internal, putting all that stuff down, it manifested so much physically for you, which we hear about so much. Like, stress and pain can manifest. I mean, I don't know anyone who that happened to more than you. I was like 2 heart surgeries, 2 back surgeries. And when I would ask you, that would be your answer every time. I'm okay. I'm like, so I had to get really clever at asking questions. I knew you weren't, but you really, by pushing it down, that really manifested physically. So many of those things manifested in your body. Did you notice it as it was happening, or did you think, Can I tell you that I honestly thought it's normal, people going through the stress. There's other people that go through it. It's life stressors. You're not weak. Okay. You're stronger. I'll just work out more. It'll relax me. So I pushed harder lifting. I would try to sleep, but I couldn't. So I take a few gummies. So I did what it took to get it done. So we used to joke around. It's Mexican, not Mexicant. Mm-hmm. It's like, we're not weak. It's fine. I'll take care of it later. And that's very easy for someone to say like me. Oh, later, tonight. Oh, it's not convenient. My biggest thing is, it's not appropriate because so-and-so has a big event, or I'll take care of it after, the big product launch. I'll take after my friend's birthday party. But that day never came. I took care of it. Yes, I pushed it and you kept pushing it. And does stress aggravate a lot? Yes, it does. Physically, I never thought of myself as a strong person physically. But when I saw the changes in my body and was stronger, I thought, okay, that's going to get me through it. I'll be fine. But again, until your body, and now there were little things like, I feel uncomfortable. Oh, I have indigestion, just take more Tums. Never realizing that I'm pushing. And then when you're suddenly told you have, 2 blocked arteries, one is only functioning at 40%, and I'm working out 6 days a week, swimming 3 days, and not giving in, it kind of tells you like, oh. And instead of me worrying about it, I'm like, man, imagine if I was all cleaned up, how much harder I could live. So I'm looking at the silver lining as opposed to, you better slow down. So yeah, there were signs, but I chose they're not convenient. And because I don't feel the sense of self-worth that many people feel for themselves, I could always wait, unfortunately. So after all of that, I mean, you're holding the stress in, it's manifesting in your body physically, the heart surgeries, the back surgeries, the things that you were withholding, lying by omission, all of that stuff. It takes its toll, man. It adds up. What did an actual day feel like in the midst of all of that, in the middle of the fight? Like, what were you feeling or thinking?
Very simply is I just have to get through the day. I just have to make sure to get up and pick up Josh to go work out and then make it to work on time. Be the best. For no one will look so closely if I was maybe not eating as much, or maybe I'd walk out because I was a little flushed because of the stress. It was the constant reminder, you're not the person that's going through the stress. You're the person that is hired to do a job. So I would turn into that person. So it's almost like an acting gig. I would say, it's like, okay, it's Antonio, account coordinator for Givenchy, go. And everything else didn't matter. Not me, not just me working. But during lunchtime, I'd sit in my car. And I won't lie, sometimes it'd get a little stressful and I'd have a little bit of a little burst of emotion to let it out. But I needed that to get back to the day. So it was just making sure that no one noticed, making sure I laughed enough or joked around enough to make sure that no one really saw too deep, keeping things superficial. I was always happy, always in a good mood. No one questioned someone not. When I wasn't eating as much and I looked a little pale, I started tanning because a person with a nice color seems healthy. So if I'm healthy, no one will ask too many questions. So I did what I had to do for people not to ask deep questions. And because I tend to be more of a easygoing guy and I don't show really a lot of it, people just sort of thought, oh, he's in a great mood, and leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, we were together 6 days a week, and it was hard for me to notice sometimes. I mean, and when I did, I had to be like, hey, what was that? Like, the back surgery one, I just remember you staggering away and be like, hey, are you okay? And you were like, oh, my leg's been numb for like a week. And I was like, what? A week? But I'd seen you every day, but you're very good at concealing those things from people, which is not good. No.
I just don't like to worry people. And I guess that's, again, goes back to the same basic thing. I don't like people to be overly concerned or over worried, because I don't want my deficiency or my less than, strength be affecting you. I do have a great worth for other people.
Yeah, let me preface that differently. Sorry, it's not that it's not good, because it's actually really normal to hide things, right? That is very normal behavior. Because I care about you, it's frustrating, is what I meant to say. It's not weird, it's frustrating. But look, we all do that in the midst of those things. It's hard. It's hard to just admit something is hard, or that you're in a place that is uncomfortable. And you did what most of us would do. You just kept trying to push forward.
Well, that's what you do, right? I was the era that you just walk it off. This hurts, walk it off. It's like, so when you can and you know that, oh, by the time I get home, I'm going to rest, it'll be fine tomorrow. And that was always the case. Just, it'll be fine tomorrow. And there were great days, and some days were really hard, But the idea was to remember that it'll be fine, because it has to be.
So, as we're going through this, you're hiding some things from people, and things are getting a little harder physically and emotionally. What is something that you had to let go of? Whether it be a plan, a goal, part of you, a relationship that needed to be let go of to move forward?
Obviously, it's not as easy as just letting go, right? It's, I can honestly say that I like to use the term passion, but I am stubborn. I was in a 23-year relationship. And it wasn't until I came to the realization that if I didn't let go of it, and that it wasn't a failure, but a learning experience of something that it took me 23 years to learn, that it was okay. So letting go of someone who you thought defined you was hard. And it took years. I would say I'm over it, I'm good, but I never grieved letting go. Now that I've recently made it a point to actually physically let it go, mentally, emotionally, understanding that that doesn't define me. That is the one thing. The also idea that I'm not worthy of more. So letting go of a relationship, letting go of what I thought love was, is something very hard to admit. That I'm being told, don't change who you are. Don't stop loving how you love. Just be selective on who you love and how you love someone. Not really sure how I still feel about that, but
We're working on it.
but we're working on it. But I can actually say that by reestablishing boundaries, by letting go of an ideal, I wanted a beautiful love story. And, I believe that there was more than that, but some people want to love life. They just want something stable and basic. And when you suddenly realize you can't keep harping on the same things or with the expectation, it is a big deal. I think once I finally truly let it go, I was, okay, now what? Now where? And now that I understand, even through friendships, I've had to set my friendships aside of how I see people, trying to make them into a mold that I want them. I like their personality, but sometimes they tell you who they are and you make them for more what they are and they're not. So learning in the last 6 months who real friends are, or not that they're bad people, but it's just you can't have that same reciprocation of how you're loved or want to be loved or cared for. So letting go of an ideal, letting go of people that don't serve anything beneficial for me. They were friends for a season. They were relationships that were meant to teach. So I see that I'm in a place now where it took me a little bit longer to learn a few lessons, but I think I've learned quite a few. I'm still navigating the whole who to trust, who to love, and not completely lose myself, because apparently I'm a loving person. I don't think it's necessarily worked in my favor, but you know what? Placing it in the right hands is really now the key. And I joke around with some people like, okay, you're like the last one. There's no more. After that, no one gets a pass. It's like, you know what? We're good. So yeah, letting go is hard, but I can honestly say I've let go of quite a chunk. Not everything, but definitely a chunk enough where the anchor is not weighing me down and has me stuck. It's just slowing me down just a little bit.
I think, two things. One, letting go is very difficult. And that also just shows you that it mattered, right? Because it did. It might not serve you now, but it mattered when it was happening. And you were meant to learn something from it and experience something from it. And when it serves its purpose, it's done. It's hard to let go because it mattered. And it's okay to admit that it mattered, even when you're frustrated. You don't want it to matter, but it did.
Yeah.
And two, with you specifically, and anyone listening, being a caring person is a strength, not a weakness. It never has been for anybody. The problem is putting that caring heart and thought into the wrong people. And that is a different thing, right? And I tell you this, and I know you don't believe me, and we argue about it all the time. But the person that you are is amazing. And your heart is your best quality. And I've told you this a million times, and I mean it. You just need to be cautious in who you give yourself to. It's hard to do that also because there's other chameleons out there. You're not the only one. There's other people out there. And it's just being a little guarded, right? It's the boundaries like you talked about, putting up some of those boundaries and letting go of a long relationship or friendships is a big let go of. It's a big thing to let go of. And it shouldn't surprise you that it took so long because it did matter to you. It just took a while to let go, and that's okay. And maybe you're still not completely let go of it, right? There's no time frame or time limit. It doesn't work that way. When it's done for you, it is, and you'll know. But being mindful that is a good thing. Like your heart is a good thing, not a bad thing. It's not a weakness; it's a strength. That's very important to keep in mind. And I try to remind you that.
Yeah. And it's technically refurbished. So now that it's refurbished,
totally. It's
I
true.
can handle a little bit more.
Yeah, we can handle a little more. We got this.
I got it.
Okay, so we talked about things you had to lose and get rid of, right? What is something you know now in this moment that you wish you had known when you were in the fight?
I wish I had trusted my instinct that I could have taken a chance much earlier and weathered out the storm in a much better way, in a much healthier way. My gut had told me I was in a situation that was precarious, that was getting a bit dangerous for my health, but I ignored it. And when I look back, I should have just said, stop everything. Had to have one hard conversation. And had I thrown myself and trusted myself that if it was something worth fighting for, the person would fight back with me, that would have been an answer. Because that's the one thing when I learned right off the bat, that when one person is willing to fight for a relationship, for a passion, for a goal, an ideal, you need both of them to be both. But if only one's in it, then it's just a waste of energy. So I would tell myself now, trusted your gut, and I would have saved myself, honestly, a good 10 years. And I didn't come by that number lightly. I looked at the time, I looked at the reference when I knew things were happening, and I would have told myself, do it now. Take the chance. Have the hard conversation. Be honest, be brutal, see where the chips may lay. And if it was real, it'll last. And if it wasn't, then rip off the Band-Aid. So that's really where I see now, looking back, it would have saved a lot of time. And sometimes I come from the faith and the understanding that we all have the answer. We know what we want. We just are too afraid. And I was too afraid for the consequence of the loss instead of having faith that the answer would actually set me free.
Do you think there's a correlation to the relationship and the identity crisis or shift?
Oh, absolutely. If you don't know who you are, how can you manifest or how can you guide your purpose? When you base your identity based on the need and purpose at the time, you're always going to be changing. So how can you grow? It's one thing to be mindful of someone's emotions or life, but when you suddenly you want to be a caregiver, you want to be a person of an example, or you want to be a support system. If that person now doesn't need you anymore, then who are you? You're no longer a caregiver. No one needs you. If you are known as a person who is always there to be that one guiding force, the protector, and this person or even company doesn't need you anymore, again, it goes back to then, who am I? A lot of people associate their job to who they are. I never saw myself as what I did. I was more of who am I to the people in my life. So that's really more of where the purpose and identity comes in. I could be whoever you wanted to be, but the identity, had I worked on the identity and saying no, then my purpose would have been more mindful in where I placed my heart, my intentions, my hard work.
So let's flip it, because I feel like we always ask, what would this person now say to the person then? Let's just flip it for a second and say, what would the person in the fight want to say to the person sitting here right now?
I think they would say that I forgive you. And I think that's the hardest thing. You want your inner child to forgive the person that they've become. But if that person would have said, let go, and it's okay, then you'd really have a chance to say, you're right, it's not my fault. And sometimes we just want to hear that it's not your fault. Yet, when you grow up a certain way and told that accountability is important, I will always say it's my fault. I will think I did something wrong. And then after talking and thinking, you know what? I realize it's not really me, right? But I'll always be the first to say, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm one of the few people you'll ever meet that I have no ego when it comes to them. So if I wronged you, and I will apologize. If you don't tell me and you tell me, I will do it because I never want to hurt anybody's feelings. And sometimes we do things unintentionally. But for that person to tell me now that I forgive you for putting me through this, then there's a fresh start, because we have to forgive ourselves, I feel, sometimes for our actions, for the people that we allow in our lives. And it really just boils down to that. I think just forgiving ourselves. We're told forgive others, forgiveness is divine. But why don't we ever just start with forgiving ourselves?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I hope that's kind of where you were going to go with it, because that's what I was sort of thinking too. And you're right, to your point, you have to give yourself closure sometimes. It's the only way to get it. You're not going to get closure from other people, even though we want it, right? We want that validation so badly. Right. Most of the time, the fight leads to realizing that you give yourself the closure that you deserve. And I think that's 100% perfect way to explain it. Like, I'm really glad you got there, because that's what I was sort of thinking, and I'm really hoping it goes where I'm thinking. But forgiveness is exactly right, man. And I think you're 100% correct where that person would forgive you. And I think we've talked about this, you have to give that inner child and that inner voice, you have to know that they're there. And I think we block them out a lot, or we forget them, and it's important not to do that. Okay. So for the person listening that is relating to you and feeling, man, I'm in a similar fight as he was, what is something you want to say to that listener?
I think in the simplest way is listen to your instinct, listen to your gut. Really don't wait till you're 54 years old to suddenly say, it's okay, it didn't work out. If you feel it, be it at 20 or 30, there's not an age at what point you tell yourself it's not going to be wrong. If you feel it, you know it. If it's worth it, it'll last. So I guess the reality is you have to love yourself. You really do. If you don't love yourself, you will never come to the conclusion that you need to forgive yourself first. So if you're out there, you're feeling it, you feel the stress, the pressure, being in a relationship, work, the culmination of everything, family, take the time, take the moment that if you built it and it's real, it will outlast anything. And in the midst of everything that I've gone through, I've had my challenges with my faith, but I've never forgotten it. I've always known it's in the background. I know that I don't know what my purpose will be, but I do know that I'm here for a reason. I wouldn't have gone through 2 back procedures, 2 heart procedures, ugly divorce, and lose some friends and meet friends just to say that's it. So I do feel there's a plan. So if you're out there, there's a plan for you. You just have to acknowledge that you are worthy of that. You're worthy of being loved. You're worthy of being here. And there's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why the people come into your life. You just have to always see it as it's meant to teach me something. So listen, pay attention, because if not, you'll keep repeating the same thing over and over. And if you're stubborn like me, you don't want to keep repeating it that long. So take heart. You will get through it. We're stronger than we think. And I think that if you really do give yourself credit, you can weather almost any storm. You really can.
Very well said. I think it's very important to hit on that one point. We are stronger and more capable than we think. Everybody is. Yeah. I try to tell that to all my clients, everyone I work with, friends, family. You are so much more capable than you know of conquering all things. And I'm glad that we've gotten to this place where we can sit and have this conversation now through everything you've been going through, because it has been a lot. And I'm hoping that you're closer to closure. And look, conquering doesn't mean it's over. It's not an end game. You don't conquer and it's done. Sometimes conquering is learning to live with the fight, and it continues. And you just get stronger and become more capable of dealing with it, and you learn from everything that you're going through. It's not, oh, I conquered it, it's done, I'm good. It's really not how it works. And I think you're learning that along the way. Yeah. So thank you for being with me today, Antonio.
You're very welcome.
Episode 0, first guest ever. Amazing. Super happy to have you. Please check us out on Spotify, on YouTube. Links are going to be in the bio. Links are on the Instagram pages. Comment, like, and share, please. We're making this work on our own. It's community over everything. We're nothing without you guys, and we will see you next time.